What's up, Tesla fans? Welcome back. As I promised yesterday, we'll be talking about a few different topics here. And I wanted to start with something that I've been really interested in from the beginning, and I'm still learning about it. And I think the theme of this video and the future videos is all about learning, is about expanding our horizons, is about getting a better understanding of these topics as we learn together. So if you have any questions, any comments, feel free to post them on this video. And I want to have an open conversation about these topics. So today's topic is autonomous uh, cars or robotaxis. I don't know how many of you that are watching right now this video have heard about these. I'm sure that a lot of them have, a lot of you have heard about autonomous driving or robotaxis being the next frontier in transportation. However, it kind of at times it sounds a little vague and where the progress is happening, what's going on. So I want to start with that. From the top of my head, the companies that I follow that are pursuing autonomous driving or robotaxis are Tesla, of course, Waymo, that's the Google company that's trying its pilot in Phoenix, Arizona. Then we have Zoox, that's a company that Amazon recently acquired. We have Cruise Automation that GM, the legacy OEM or the auto manufacturer, acquired, General Motors. Then we have Mobileye that Intel acquired recently and used to be Tesla's, I think it was level 1 or hardware 1. It used to provide Tesla hardware 1 back in 2013, 2014. And then finally we have, I, I would call it an upcoming startup, and I've heard this guy quite a bit on YouTube. His name is George Hodge. I highly recommend following him or watching his videos. He does make a lot of sense and says a lot of things about autonomous driving and how far or how close it is, and what are the what are the different fallacies of autonomous driving that people are falling into. But Comma AI, I think is the name of the company, and they provide almost retrofit kind of hardware that you can put into your car and will convert almost any car from almost any manufacturer that was manufactured after a certain year, and enable autonomous driving in that car. So that's kind of the background. Those are the people and companies that are striving for autonomous driving. I don't know if you guys know or not, and if you don't know, just for your information, there are 5 levels of autonomy: level 1 through level 5, where level 1 is almost or level 0 I can call like no automation. Level 5 where a human can basically sleep in their car. And where most of the people are right now, except for maybe Waymo, that is still a very custom solution in the Phoenix, Arizona area, where most people are, or where most companies are right now, is maybe level 2, 2.5, or maybe level 3 max. But yeah, it's more like level 2, level 3, which is, your car is able to do very limited functionality such as lane keeping, and is able to make some, I guess, autonomous decisions based on I guess safety features such as collision, automatic braking, or collision avoidance and stuff like that. So it's assisted. I would call it assisted driving and not really autonomy. However, one thing to note here, and I heard this really interesting talk by a speaker by the name of Tony Seba. I highly recommend following him. He seems to be like the expert in this field right now, and has some interesting ideas on where this is going. So where I would put this, this technology right now is there are 2 camps. There is camp 1 that thinks that autonomous driving is right around the corner and has been right around the corner for a very long period of time. There's camp 2 that thinks that, whatever camp 1 thinks is probably inaccurate, because they've been thinking that autonomous driving has been right around the corner for decades now. So it's probably not right around the corner when they say that. It probably means it's maybe a few more decades out. However, I kind of fall maybe not in the middle, but more leaning towards camp 1, which says that it's right around the corner, because I believe in the power of exponents. I believe that we humans tend to think linearly, thinking that if we had X today, we'll have 2X tomorrow and then 3X the day after, which is linear thinking. And we don't think about exponents, where there is an order of magnitude improvement that happens, and it almost kind of sneaks up on you. And one of the examples that I like to introduce here in like exponential improvement is semiconductor is basically Moore's law, or you could see how that improved computing and how that improved accessibility through mobile networks. So that's one of the examples of exponential improvement or rate of improvement. And I think we will see double exponent, as Tony Seba likes to point out in his talk. We'll see double exponents where you'll see rate of improvement of hardware and software exponentially increasing over a small period of time. So what that means is, in terms of prediction, you know, this is anyone's guess right now, but I personally think, based on my own personal research, that this is probably 3 years or maybe 4 years out. So maybe by 2024, we will definitely see, some form of level 3 or level 3.5 or close to level 4, maybe not level 4, but level 3, 3.5, which means that your car can take you from point A to point B without any intervention most of the time. So the human would still need to be, and just to explain for people who don't know, level 3, I explained level 2 already, which is assisted driving. Level 3 is where the car can go from point A to point B without human intervention most of the time. Level 4 is the car can go from point A to point B almost without human intervention, not just most of the time, but like 99 or 99.99% of the time. And level 5 is no human intervention is ever required in any kind of situation. So it's off-road, where you can like take your car in a remote area without a road and can drive itself around, and it can detect objects and all those kinds of things. So that's kind of the different levels of autonomous driving. The other thing that piques my interest quite a bit on about is this debate about what kind of sensors would you need. I mean, as a lot of engineers around here that know about technology and how technology enables these kind of things. I mean, one of the things that we have to understand for anything to get autonomous is first of all is sensing, and then once you sense that, and second part is data, and then how do you use that data to create intelligence, which is artificial intelligence. So the first part, which is sensing, is really important from creating an artificial intelligence standpoint. So even in autonomous driving, sensing has been a topic of huge debate, and there are two camps again, where one camp talks about non-LiDAR solutions, meaning that you don't need to emit photons out in the environment to get more information about the environment. The other camp is LiDAR solutions, which says that the only way you can achieve level 4, level 5 autonomous driving, is by emitting photons into the environment and getting more information about the environment, or you need to have a very accurate image of the environment to be able to navigate it. And Elon Musk has been pretty vocal about this. He's actually gone to the extent of calling people who are using LiDAR, which is emitting photons in the environment, as almost I would say dumb. And he's also been very vocal about the fact that it's people using LiDAR are actually using a crutch to get to level 5 quickly. However, they don't realize that they're probably going to reach a local maximum wherein they will be able to achieve some level of autonomous driving, or kind of feel like they have achieved autonomous driving in very limited kind of conditions or geographies, which I mean might be true. Only time will tell. But the main argument behind why Elon thinks that LiDAR is probably not the way to go is, number one, LiDARs are really expensive. So and we're talking about affordability of electric cars and how these cars are gonna be used widespreadly, on a widespread basis. So you talk about having an affordable car, you cannot afford expensive pieces of sensors or hardware. So that's a pretty valid and reasonable point. The other point that he makes is, more than expensive, it's not needed, because and I guess the analogy that he provides is that we as humans, we are able to drive around without LiDAR. We don't have any kind of equipment embedded in our biology that emits photons into the environment to get more information. I mean, we're basically using photons that are already available, that are getting reflected from objects, to kind of get an impression of the environment or the imagery around us. So if we as humans can work with two cameras, meaning our two eyes, then why can't an artificial intelligence work with that? Maybe even more cameras, that like 360 cameras, where you have camera on the side and camera on the back of your head. Why can't you work with that? And not just that, you can also get some more reasonably priced sensors such as radar that can see through, smoke and dust and cloud, you basically need three types of sensors is what Elon contends. You need radar, you need cameras, so for vision, and then you need your ultrasonic sensor for close proximity. And those are all cheap sensors that you can get, and that's what Teslas are equipped with. And he contends that what you need to work on, and what a lot of people are missing the point on, is that there's a lot of development effort required into training the intelligence, which is the neural net or neural network. So, and based on this hypothesis, he's almost gone about declaring that Tesla will probably be the first one to crack level 3, level 4 autonomy, and a lot of people who are working using LiDAR technology as their sensors are almost doomed, because the cost of that equipment is too high, it's not needed, and because they're so focused on getting more accurate information of the environment, they're not focused on developing their neural networks. They're not focused on developing the intelligence that kind of makes the decision. And they're more focused on getting the input right. And his contention is that you don't need to get that the input that accurate. Like, our brains don't require, we need to know every single detail about the environment when we're driving. We just need to know enough and should have enough depth and perception, which is, perception being the key word here. You need to have the perception of what's happening around you to be able to drive safely. So time will tell, like, which one is gonna succeed. I mean, it sounds like right now, and I think the data argument makes a lot of sense to me, that you got to have a ton of data to be able to train an artificial intelligence or a neural net, because there are lots of edge cases around there, so that you just cannot simulate, which is a pretty valid point. I mean, a lot of these companies, including Waymo, that have rolled out autonomous driving, they are rolling out autonomous driving in very limited environments. So the example in Waymo's case is Phoenix, Arizona, where they have a geofenced area that they have scanned multiple times. Over years they've scanned that environment, and it took a lot of time to scan that environment. So it's a very small, like, I think it's a 30-mile radius or something like that they are trying to provide the service where they can autonomously drive any passenger from point A to point B within 30-mile radius. And collecting data in that limited environment over a long period of time, can give you some sort of edge to be able to do autonomous driving. But is that a solution that's scalable? Is that something that you can then roll out to the entire country or maybe throughout the world, and will it work? And the and the response that you get from a lot of people who are experts in this field is that no, you would not get you would not be successful once you do this in a local environment and then try to emulate that in multiple other environments. And the reason being that there are edge cases that cannot be predicted. There are cases such as, no one can predict that someone is gonna put a bike at the top of the car and then maybe something at the back of the car, or maybe something at the side of the car. I mean, humans do weird shit, and humans do a lot of weird things that cannot be predicted, which means that the neural network that you're developing, if it doesn't have perception or doesn't have the power of perception because you have limited the training data to a very local environment, it will be unsuccessful in a generic case where you are asking it to drive from, let's say, Phoenix, Arizona to New York City, where there are lots of humans in between, and they've done lots of things. They've constructed weird roads, they've constructed weird intersections, there are weird signs. Not all the signs are accurate. It's not like a robot or an artificial intelligence has designed the environment that we live in. Humans have designed them, and most of them have a lot of errors, and humans are creative and humans are unpredictable. So when there is this kind of uncertainty in the data set, how is this AI that you have trained on a very specific data set going to perform? And then what happens when you change the data set? What happens when there's construction going on in the environment? You throw new construction in, how is this AI going to respond to that? I mean, those are valid questions. Like, this AI is not, doesn't have the level of perception that humans have. And And humans develop this perception not over a year or two. Like humans develop this perception, when we are babies, when we start learning about things when we are babies. We have this edge over any kind of artificial intelligence because we understand things very deeply. We understand those things, very instinctively. So we also have this millions of years of instinct that's like programmed into our brains that tells us like this is hard, don't touch it, or don't do this or don't do that. We just know that, and the reason we know that is because it's been programmed into our genetics over millions of years, and you cannot program that into an artificial intelligence with a limited data set. So I think that's a pretty reasonable argument to make. So cost being number one, and then number two, just the limited nature of this, and it almost makes you focus on kind of the wrong problem, I think. And the key here is always asking the right questions. It is not important what answers are important. A lot of us focus on what the answer is, but what is the question? So if you ask the right question, you will get the right answer. But if you ask the wrong question, you will probably end up getting the wrong answer. So again, that's a separate topic, and we'll maybe at some point talk about questions and how important questions are in our lives and asking the right question. But in this case, it sounds like Waymo and a lot of people who are using LiDAR technology are asking the wrong question. So other than that, I think Elon, I guess, accepted more recently. He kind of acknowledged the fact that even Tesla, it's not like Tesla is perfect and does everything, gets it right the first time, and no one does. And I guess that's kind of the beauty of approaching any problem is like you don't get things right the first time, and that's okay. It's okay to not get things right. What is more important is to do something. Inaction is worse than some action that is not right? So that's the approach. Like, how many times do you do something, and it's not important to be right. I think it's important to be less wrong, and there's a difference between the two. The difference being that when you're less wrong, you've kind of started from a path where you were more wrong the first time, and then as you make progress, you are less wrong over a period of time. No one can be right. I mean, there's nothing right in this world. So there's always scope for improvement, and that's what it means. Is like you can be wrong, but just be less wrong. So even Tesla has been wrong in the past, and they have been. I mean, that's why the projections on autonomy kind of got shifted, and like the goals kind of got shifted, from 2018 to now 2020, and maybe in 2022, 2023, 2024. So things are moving. However, what's more important is the rate of improvement. What's more important is the progress you're making. What's more important is that you're focusing on the right questions, and you're focusing on being less wrong. And I think that's what's kind of happening with even Tesla, where they're focusing on being less wrong. And Elon recently acknowledged in one of his tweets that even Tesla had fallen into this local maxima where they thought that they've achieved, or they're very close to achieving level 4 autonomy, but they realized that the solution that they were pursuing was nowhere near getting them to level 4 autonomy. It was kind of a trick that they had fallen for, where they thought that they were close, but like it's almost like a mirage. You know what a mirage is? Where you're driving on a road on a hot day, and then it feels like there's water, and instinctively speaking, you're thirsty and you want to drink water, but it sounds like because of basically mirage is created. It feels like there's water because you see a reflection of water at a distance when you're driving on a hot day on a road. So it sounds like Tesla had this mirage kind of experience where they felt like they were very close to achieving full autonomy, but then they realized they're no way close, because the solution that they were pursuing was just not right. So they switched and they pivoted, and then they now looks like they're rewriting their entire neural net, and this rewriting neural net will enable them to level 4 autonomy, and that's what Elon claims. Let's see what happens. Fingers crossed, but I'm really excited, and I've seen improvements even in my own car. It still is not perfect. It does some weird things, and I'm a safe driver. I pay attention to the road. What's really important for me personally is to train the neural net. So I always try to turn it on as much as possible to the extent it will allow me to drive itself, and it does pretty well on highways and freeways where there are no stop signs, there are no turn signals, there's no intersections or stuff like that. So it does pretty well with that. It is able to navigate itself pretty well on a highway or a freeway. It's doing okay, I think I would say on streets. And the way Tesla is approaching this problem is low speed, medium speed, and high speed. Where low speed is in a parking lot, or getting out of your garage, or driving into a local, not even local, maybe a private road. And then medium speed is driving on public streets with intersections and with stop signs and with humans crossing intersections and stuff like that. And then high speed is on your freeways and highways where there are no intersections or stop signs or traffic lights. Sounds like Tesla has done pretty well or based on my own experience, they've done pretty well on the highways and freeways. They are okay right now on public streets, so they're okay at medium speed. They are getting better. I mean, they've introduced features such as stop sign, sensing, where the car can sense whether there is a stop sign. The car can see it. The car will also stop at intersections and can detect red and green lights, and it can detect humans as well. It's not ready to make any turns. It won't make a right or left turn by itself. It's not ready to make the lane changes autonomously. However, it sounds like it'll probably be a month or two, and maybe next week itself. I think it's Tuesday. Yeah, next Tuesday, in 2 days or 3 days from now, Tesla is going to launch their full self driving. I don't know what level it will be, so it's yet to be seen. However, the claim is that the car will be able to drive autonomously on public streets. I'm expecting what that means is the car will be able to lane change autonomously, will be able to drive from point A to point B with almost no interventions. I would say no human interventions, or maybe almost minimal. One or two human interventions in a drive from point A to point B on public streets. So we'll see how that goes. And a private beta is going to be released on Tuesday, and I think with Elon through his Twitter announced that an early access beta will be released in a month, and then a widespread release will be in 2 months from now, which is maybe mid-December before Christmas. So it'll be a good Christmas present if that happens. And I don't think I'm in private beta for sure. I'm not in private beta. I'm not in early access beta. I think I will be in the wide release, which is December. So when that rolls out, I'll be sure to update you guys. Just before, I think this video is getting really long. There's so much to talk about this topic. There are lots of layers of this onion that we can peel, and we can just keep doing this. But I know our attention spans are short, and we want to use our time as efficiently as possible and learn as many things as possible in a very limited period of time. So I completely understand that, and I'm guilty of doing that myself. So I won't blame anyone who could not get to this part of the video. So I'm sorry, please bear with me. Just 2 more things I want to talk about before we wrap this up. The next thing is exponentials, or the power of exponentials. So again, this is a fallacy in human thinking. I think a lot of people, including myself, and I think a lot of you who are even watching, you will recognize this, that we think linearly. We think that progress is linear. We think that if we had x today, we'll get 2x and 3x, as I said in this video. That's not right. Nothing improves at that rate. Nothing. Nothing in nature is linear. Linear is a human concept. Exponential is natural concept, and that's why we have exponentials all over the place. So what that means is it might seem like the rate of improvement is extremely small. It might seem like nothing is changing, but under the curtains, or behind the curtains, or under the whatever, things are brewing, and they're approaching some sort of exponent that you cannot see. What that means on this topic in particular is that a lot of predictions are going to be wrong. A lot of people who can see autonomous driving coming are going to be wrong, because they're going to predict based on a linear improvement based thinking, where they're thinking, if something did not exist yesterday, that is 0. It doesn't exist today, that is 0. Future is going to be 0 as well. So that's kind of the fallacy, where with linear, close to zero or something tending to zero means zero in the linear world. In non-linear world, in an exponential world, you could be close to zero, but if you apply an exponent to that, an order of magnitude to that, that could continue to be close to zero until it's not, and then it's like it will spike like crazy at some point in a very short period of time. That's an impulse where it will spike and no one can see it coming. And that's what I'm afraid of. Like a lot of people, could be underestimating the power of autonomous driving and how soon it's coming and the kind of impact it will have on everything. The kind of impact autonomous driving will have on, again, everything. Because as humans, transportation is key to us. We move all the time, everywhere. If that goes autonomous, that is probably the biggest thing that can happen maybe after the advent of the internet, or maybe even bigger than that in terms of just misbelief. And I think, as I told you guys at the start of the video, that autonomous driving is around the corner. It's just that people can't see it because people still believe that the improvement will be linear when it will be exponential. And when it goes exponential, there's complete different power exponentials, as all of you know, being mathematicians and engineers and physicists and scientists in general. The power of exponent is immense. So please recognize that power and be excited about the future in general, I think, because the future is bright. The future is autonomous driving for sure, and it's electric autonomous driving. And the kind of decimation it will cause, not maybe decimation is probably the negative word, but the kind of excitement it will cause in the world is almost unthinkable. And the kind of domino effect it'll have on industries, on people, on how we do things is gonna be beyond imagination. And you can do your own research on this, and I've done some of my research. I'm still kind of researching this, but I'm really excited about this future. I'm really excited. And there are two reasons for it. The first reason is that it can only be done in electrical environment. So it'll be electric. I think there's no doubt about that. What that means is that ICE is dead. So people, if you're investing in internal combustion engine, if you're investing in oil and gas, think about it again. This is not financial advice. Do your own research. I should have said that in my previous video, and I will continue to say that. This is not, none of the things that I say in these videos is investment advice. It's not financial advice. Do your own research, and I want to copy, another YouTuber. His name is Tom Nash, and I like his phrase quite a bit. This could be the ramblings of a madman. I could be the madman, so do not follow me. Do your own research. But where I see this is going, ICE is dead. If you didn't know that already, I think a lot of people who are subscribing to this channel and are listening to me already know that ICE is dead. And again, ICE meaning internal combustion engine. Clarifying again, I think personally, in my opinion, ICE is dead. What that means is that oil and gas it's not dead, because I think we'll continue to use oil and gas for a long time. Maybe in the medium term, I shouldn't say long term, because there are other things that we need oil and gas for, but it won't be for personal transportation for sure. I think the first to go is personal transportation, the next is going to be commercial transportation, and then public transportation. Finally, that will buckle under, and it will be quick. It won't be decades of transition. It won't take 2 decades to transition this. It will change so quickly that a lot of people will be really surprised how quickly this happens. And the reason being is that when it makes economic sense to do something, it doesn't take that much time. And right now, a lot of people don't realize how much economic sense it makes, and we are moving that direction, and I think there's no stopping it. So I just find it very hard to believe, and maybe people are just counting their days. And I've told my friends, very close friends who are in this industry, to watch out for this and maybe start shifting their careers outside of this industry, because you don't want to be part of an industry that's not growing. And well, maybe it depends on your personal opinion and how you want to lead your life. I don't want to tell anyone how to lead their lives, but I personally don't feel excited about being part of industries that are not growing. So that's my personal opinion, and that's how I feel about it. And I'll give you my my camera battery is dying already. So this channel is all about honesty. It's all about transparency. It's all about expressing your opinion. It's all about hearing other people's opinions. So I'll give you mine. Feel free to give me yours. If you feel that I said something incorrect or you don't agree with me, I have no problems with that. Please express that. This is supposed to be a conversation. It's not a monologue. I don't want this channel to be a monologue where I project my views and I mean, of course, we live in a free world and everyone can express their views and whatever you feel like. But I want to come back to the topic, and I want to always qualify, not qualify, but like make statements based on my rationale. I might be wrong, my thought process, and I want to give you my thought process and where I'm coming from. So if you disagree, just feel free to comment. I want this to be a conversation and we can talk about it. Sorry, one more topic. I'm like, I have so many things to talk about here, but there's still a little time. So follow Tony Seba. He just gave a talk about the power exponentials and how quickly autonomous driving is coming. The final one I'll talk about is Nvidia, and I'm kind of diverting towards an investment topic. And I have lots of investment topics that I want to talk about personally, because I've learned a lot about investing in the last 5-6 years, and I'm really excited to share my ideas and thoughts on investing and how to be long-term investor, how to think long, but also make short-term decisions that will have a huge impact in the long term. So Nvidia is one of those companies that I follow quite a bit, and I think it has great leadership, and I'll talk about the business aspects of it separately and the technology aspects separately. But I see this very interesting dynamic between Nvidia and Tesla, where Tesla decided to step away from Nvidia back in 2016, and for a good reason. Tesla wanted to do their own thing. They wanted to develop their own full self-driving computer. They didn't want to rely on a generic GPU that Nvidia was providing. I forget the name of the GPU. It was a very interesting name. Google it, whatever you'll find it. I found it fascinating. But Tesla decided to step away because Nvidia's GPU was generic. It was not developed for Tesla's specific neural net. Tesla's neural net, by the way, is called Dojo. Very interesting name again. And they developed their own. They got an engineer from Apple, and they developed their own chip. They developed their own full self-driving computer. I just got that put into my car a few months ago. So there are two computers, or two chips that one of them is redundant for safety purposes. But I think if I remember it right, it was at least 2 orders of magnitude improvement in terms of processing power. So a lot of computing in there, a lot of computing power in there. Now that computing power combined with the amount of data that Tesla is acquiring or accumulating for free, they're not paying for the data. They're actually, on the other hand, or actually to the contrary, they are selling cars that people are driving and paying for to get them the data for free. That's genius. So they have a lot of data, they have a lot of computing power, that's all in-house, and they are using that to bring that kind of ammunition to this war, which is autonomous driving. And I think they're very, very well positioned to win this game. Time will tell us, and maybe this video would not age as well as my previous videos. Time will tell us. Right now, my bets are on Tesla and their ability to drive this. Maybe I'm not seeing something under the wraps. That is completely possible. And actually, as a matter of fact, Waymo just announced that they will be doing. They've been autonomously driving their car in the Phoenix, Arizona area for a while, but now they're not going to have a human-assisted driver or whatever, a human supervisor in the car to supervise the driving anymore. They're going to do it completely autonomously. A passenger will just step into the car. There'll be no one in front of the car. The car will drive itself. That's great. But I think it's just that it's a very limited solution. It's just for Phoenix area. So if they go to New York City, if they go to another city, they have to map the whole city and they have to do it all over again, which I don't know. I don't think that'll work. But we'll see. And it's very expensive. Yeah, that's the other part. It's super expensive. I think that the the whole retrofit of the sensors and everything costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. No one can spend that kind of money. It's not possible. So I'm really excited about the future of autonomous driving. I think this is going to be really exciting and an interesting space to watch out for. I'll have a lot more videos. I think this. I'm sorry that this video has been too long. It's 35 minutes already. But stay tuned and let's have a conversation. Until next time, be safe.